I'm joined today by Jason Conley, who is a digital forensic examiner at Envista Forensics. Jason has agreed to join us today to answer a few questions about some of the major cybersecurity concerns that have arisen as a direct result of the pandemic. Maybe first question, Jason. What are some of the more challenging cybersecurity scenarios that have been created by the current work from home situation?
Certainly. Well, there's been a number of sort of mainstream threats that have been exacerbated by the current work from home situation. Prior to COVID, I mean, there was already a ransomware epidemic, in the world, but it's been amplified quite radically. And I do believe that the conditions of people working from home has been a large factor in that. And, we're up against criminal organizations that are capitalizing on the situation.
What can an employer do if they suspect that one of their employees or an ex-employee has removed the intellectual property or valuable information from the company?
Certainly, yeah. This is also a major issue right now, Neil. I mean, we hear in the news all the time about the phishing and social engineering attacks that end up becoming ransomware and extortion cases. But, lesser known is the amount of, disgruntled employees or former employees that, have had access to the lifeblood of an organization, which is their data. And, we don't have that interpersonal contact anymore. We're not coming to an office and seeing everybody and maybe having the opportunity to recognize when maybe something's not right with somebody, or if things are spiraling with a particular individual. So we're missing that personal connection that we used to have, and it's tough times. The economy's not doing well, and sometimes these tough times cause people to do things they wouldn't normally do. So when it comes to sensitive data theft, most employers aren't aware of what recourses they have. And with respect to digital forensics, it's really one of the only viable services that can help mitigate the damages. It's very important that that employers know that there is recourse. And one of the best things they can do is take steps to preserve evidence. Quite often, companies don't hear about these threats from former employees until months after the fact. So, setting up a plan, ensuring that they're able to set aside, an image of a hard drive, perhaps a cell phone that was being used, a company cell phone, or data that's being stored on the cloud. These types of preventative measures are one of the best steps an employer can take. And of course, having a plan and having a relationship with a reliable forensics team is one of the best ways to set themselves up for mitigating a situation like that.
Thank you. So maybe what are some of the lessons that we learned in the last 6 months since the pandemic began? Are there any sort of cybersecurity best practices that you can recommend, especially for people currently working from home?
Certainly, absolutely. One of the most important things is that people don't have out-of-band communication very much anymore. There's no water cooler conversations going on. You can't just nip around and see somebody in the office to confirm that what they sent in an email may be valid, that a request that was being sent was legitimate, and quite often people don't question it. If it comes from an address, if it comes from an email and that's the person's email, you assume it's legitimate. But more often than not, in these in data breach situations, accounts are being compromised all the time. So just picking up the phone, just picking up the phone before taking an action, such as transferring funds or sharing some confidential information, that's a really big step. And in implementing two-factor authentication, this is another really big tool. These organizations that are out there, they're constantly using password cracking techniques to try to infiltrate organizations. If folks take the time to set up two-factor authentication, you get a little message on your phone, just like with your banking and so on, that says, hey, you were trying to log in from a new computer, is this okay? that extra step to authenticating would reduce a whole slew of these attacks, or at least move them on to somebody else. So that's really some of the strongest points that I would advise. And crafting good passwords. Unfortunately, people still have the habit of using one password for everything, and letting that password stay in place for as long as they possibly can. Well, unfortunately, there's a lot of tools out there that are carving out passwords, stealing them from sites that have been compromised, and then reapplying them, selling them on the dark web, and having them show up somewhere else. And that can be often the first step into a data breach. Those would be the best things.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining us today, Jason. We appreciate all your insight. We appreciate your time today. So thanks very much, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.